With Sonic Lost World, Sega and Sonic Team decided not to play it safe by changing up Sonic's staple gameplay style, and because of this risk have blessed Wii U owners with a fun-packed, unique platforming experience not available anywhere else. Only a few aspects of the game hold it back from being the Sonic game Sega fans have been long awaiting. Let's home in on each aspect just to see what exactly did and didn't strike a chord with me. Similar to the Mario series, story has never been a strong element here with Sonic. However, unlike Mario, Sonic games usually attempt to have some stronger ongoing plot that is told through cutscenes and dialogue. This entry involves Sonic and Tails chasing after Dr. Eggman, who has captured several of their animal buddies to use to power his mischievous mechanical monstrosities. During this chase, Sonic and Tails are shot down by Dr. Eggman and land onto a strange planet called Lost Hex. On this planet, they find out about a race known as the Zeti, who is a group who is known together as the Deadly Six, who you'll find yourself facing throughout your journey through the game's many worlds. Without spoiling any more elements of the story, I will say that there are some predictable but still interesting twists. Despite not being a memorable story, I can definitely see hardcore Sonic fans appreciating the writing and voice work throughout it. As mentioned before, Sonic Lost World heavily changes up the Sonic formula through controls and general gameplay. Despite these huge changes, it still feels familiar thanks to returning classic Sonic abilities like his spin dash and homing attacks. Players now have a lot more control over Sonic than they've had in the past. When first playing, I was surprised how slow Sonic was capable of moving, as after years of practically teleporting around as the blue blur, it was a shocker to be able to move him around at such a slower and more precise pace. Then with the press of a shoulder button, I was suddenly back to good old Sonic, moving around at record speeds and narrowly avoiding obstacles. Being curious about the other shoulder button, of course, I had to press it, which sent me into a ball mode that revved up that familiar spin dash sound, and when I released it sent me zooming even faster than before. When playing the 2D sections, I did notice that the spin dash lacked some of the speed of other Sonic titles though. This new control style has been hit or miss with critics and Sonic fans alike, as it adjusts the traditional Sonic level design to slower paced areas at times where they encourage you to pace yourself and even explore for secrets or optional paths. Those who have played previous entries in the series may end up getting frustrated as they attempt to blaze through these sections, constantly falling off edges or running into enemies. When accepting this new style and understanding Sonic Team's vision with this new entry, I found myself enjoying this concoction of Sonic and Mario gameplay that creates a unique, still Sonic feeling experience. I recommend that all players check the tips that pop up on the screen, as they teach you many of the game's necessary mechanics of the game that will help you enjoy it more. Also paired with this new control style are parkour moves such as wall running while jumping and automatic jumping over small obstacles. These automatic moves I found both awesome and sometimes annoying, as I often found myself performing the actions when I didn't want to because of their automatic nature. Despite the shoddiness of those controls at times, I did enjoy Sonic's offensive moves such as his homing attack and kick. One of the most satisfying experiences for me was performing a homing attack through a row of about 20 enemies, hearing the rapid chain of Sonic enemy poof sound effects. My only issue with the homing attacks was that the lock-on would sometimes seem bugged. A handful of moments through my playthrough of the game, I would lose the lock-on for a split second, and when I went to attack, I would perform a double jump instead and plummet to my death, as homing attacks are often used as a method of platforming from one location to the next. The minor frustrations with the controls add a slight layer of difficulty onto an already challenging platformer. As you play, you'll reach some levels that require some very precise movement and jumping that may end up eating away at your stock of lives. Fortunately, the Sonic game seems to supply players with a very healthy supply of rings compared to other previous entries. Because of this, I quickly found my lives counter up in the double digits. And if you are struggling with a particular part in the level, they do provide a special power-up that warps you right past it. While many will be frustrated with the game's level design that doesn't always accommodate old speedy Sonic, I personally found it to be some of the best I've seen in a platformer in a long time. A lot of this has to do with the variety presented in the game. I not once felt bored or any amount of tediousness with the levels I was presented with. The new standard Sonic level and Sonic Lost World take place on cylindrical and spherical areas that are extremely reminiscent of Super Mario Galaxy's levels. When Sonic moves around these areas, gravity shifts with him, allowing you to explore all sides of the level. They have painstakingly loaded these 3D levels full of platforming challenges and secrets as well, making each level have multiple paths depending on the side which you decide to progress through. When first arriving on a level, some may decide to move straight ahead, but if you run around, you will often find yourself a more challenging and rewarding path, which does wonders for the replay value of the game. Sonic Lost World does not limit itself to this Super Mario Galaxy inspired style though. They also send Sonic back to his 2D side-scrolling roots in many of the game stages, giving a much-desired old-school taste while still having a fresh new flavor thanks to Sonic Lost World's modernized control scheme. Already presenting a great amount of variety between these 3D and 2D stages, I was pleasantly surprised with even more unique level styles. One of my favorite stages in the game, I found myself controlling a large snowball with gameplay that was a mix of Marble Madness and Katamari Damacy. Seeing rings actually stick to the snowball and keep building up was a neat little touch. Without spoiling any more levels, I will say that there are even more unique gameplay styles presented in the game's 30 plus levels. Returning from Sonic Colors are the Wisps, which are essentially the power-ups of the game. While some of these are simply offensive powers, such as the Black Wisp that turns you into a controllable growing bomb, others are actually required for level progression, such as the Yellow Wisp that grants Sonic the drill power, allowing him to quickly burrow through the ground. While I found powers such as this drilling ability to be fun and easy to control, a few of the others I was initially confused with as I tried to figure out the touchscreen controls for them. I once again re-emphasize that reading the tips they provide is essential here, as it does explain exactly how each Wisp works. Fans of classic Sonic power-ups like the speed boost and invincibility need not worry, as these do return. One of the major faults with this game is easily its boss fights. While a few of them had cool design ideas and were genuinely challenging, most unfortunately were often executed less than perfect and would end way earlier than you'd expect. My jaw literally dropped when I realized I killed a boss in one hit because my homing attack locked on multiple times, dealing a devastating killing blow. Just like the game's platforming levels, the bosses do present a good variety in types of battles at least, which I will give them some credit for. Each encounter with the Deadly Six provides a unique battle for players with new mechanics, even if they are pushovers. While I was disappointed with the Deadly Six, I was surprised and in love with the minions I faced in levels leading up to the disappointing new antagonists. Almost every Badnik you encounter is a classic Sonic enemy from a previous entry in the series. While most of these enemies were pulled from the original 3 games, they also made sure to represent other titles in the series, including more recent entries like Sonic Colors. It should be noted the game has actually received a free DLC Yoshi's Island theme stage, adding to the game's already present collection of post-game content. Seeing this crossover content in the game was amazing, being both a fan of Sega and Nintendo. I'm eager to see the upcoming The Legend of Zelda themed DLC that will be coming in the future as well. There's also a special Knights themed level that came with the Deadly Six bonus edition version of the game, but unfortunately there's no other way to play this level if you did not purchase this version. Locking players out of significant content like this is unfortunate, but I extend a certain level of forgiveness for providing the Yoshi's Island themed stage completely free of charge. For multiplayer, there are cooperative and competitive options. However, they will probably be leaving you wanting more. The cooperative gameplay allows a second player to grab a Wii Remote or Pro Controller to control a small remote-controlled vehicle that has different powers depending on the one that you use. The ones I tried out were able to shoot homing rockets and drop bombs. It's essentially a slightly more entertaining and interesting version of Super Mario Galaxy's tacked-on local co-op. The competitive gameplay, on the other hand, provides a much more entertaining experience, being able to race against a friend in a small handful of the game's levels. Thanks to the Wii U gamepad, no split screen is necessary too, giving each player their own screen to play on. If this mode featured online racing, it probably would have some more playtime with me. I also wish that I could have played cooperatively with another player in this manner as well, instead of being limited to racing. Maybe in Sonic Lost World 2 we'll see a cooperative mode like this, where a second player can be Tails or one of Sonic's many other friends he's made over the past 2 decades. There's also a small amount of Miiverse integration that encourages players to share power-ups between other random players as they become more powerful when they are shared. There's even a Miiverse exclusive power-up. I always like seeing what developers decide to do with Miiverse, so it's appreciated to see it made use of here. Sonic Lost World is a beautiful game. Similar to Super Mario 3D World, we have loads of vibrant colors and a smooth 60 frames per second to boot. I would even go to say that Sonic Lost World is an arguably better looking game than Super Mario 3D World as well, possibly even being one of the Wii U's best looking titles. It was really awesome speeding through these HD levels that had a heavy classic meets modern feel in the art and overall platform design, all while maintaining a solid frame rate. I unfortunately did encounter one frame rate drop during what I assume was a bug that was causing too many enemies to spawn, creating a very noticeable amount of slowdown until I was able to leave that location. Music has almost always been the shining star in Sonic and many Sega games in general, and Sonic Lost World is very far from an exception. I can honestly say that this is one of the best soundtracks in Sonic history, as I didn't hear any duds in the game's impressive collection of zone themes. You can tell the composition team, which includes Sonic and Sega composer veterans, put tremendous effort into crafting a tune that fit each area's environment. Tracks range from the instrument-packed Windy Hill theme, which brings strings, drums, piano, and all sorts of styles together, making it incredibly fun to play alongside tracks. Just about every track I heard was brand new compositions, besides some of the Color Power and Power Up songs. And despite these being brand new songs, they've captured both modern and classic Sonic style in them as a collection. As a collective soundtrack, I don't know if I can place it above the classics, but there are definitely a handful of tracks in the game that resonate with me on a level that only the original 3 games could accomplish. Sonic Lost World was a unique experiment by Sonic Team to try out something new for the Blue Blur and see if it worked. For the most part, I believe it definitely did, only having a few flaws that prevent it from being what most Sonic fans are hoping for. With just a few tweaks to the controls and some redesigned boss fights, Sonic Lost World could have been a near-perfect Sonic title. I suppose this could be in store for a sequel, however. Despite these shortcomings, the awesome style and variety of the level design, the amazing graphics, and the memorable soundtrack leave it in a place that adds it to the Wii U's currently small but growing must-have exclusive list. Sonic Lost World has also been a game people love to hate, as gamers these days always seem to have low expectations of Sonic games. This is a game I've kept an open mind with when playing, and I began to understand their design vision for the game, which makes you have to slow down and think sometimes rather than blaze through seemingly automated stylish sequences like many other modern Sonic titles. It borrows from classic Sonic to bring a new style of gameplay that is truly challenging at times and will take you back to the frustrating glory days of gaming. Whether you like this style presented in Sonic Lost World is honestly up to you, and I fully accept that not every Sonic fan will love this game. There is no denying that Sega and the Sonic team put a lot of effort into this title, as almost every aspect of it has really impressed me despite the problems. The Game Cavern gives Sonic Lost World a 4.25 out of 5.